Is the felon going against doctors' medical advice? And what do we need to know about this birthday card? Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for liking, watching, commenting on the videos, sharing the videos, promoting the channel on your own social media platforms. It's all greatly, greatly appreciated. And if you've given money to the channel through the super thanks, buy me a coffee or Venmo, a huge, huge thank you. It's all greatly, greatly appreciated. So the Epstein birthday card is out. Let's take a look at what we're supposed to know about that. Um, the felon, of course, is denying that it's his signature, but it seems to be consistent with the way he was signing other things during that time frame. So we'll look at the card. We'll look to see if more things are going to be revealed. Now, I've been saying was going to happen for months, and it's happening. Is the felon going against medical advice and doing things that he's probably not supposed to be doing? So let's look at that, and let's look at his heart specifically, and how that's going. And then I've always seen him going, boom dead. That's the way I've just seen it happening. Um, and I kind of got a little bit of a reminder of that earlier today when one of the people that lives 4 or 5 houses down the road from me, who I see basically on a daily basis, passed away very suddenly, wasn't sick at all, and just was gone, or at least not to my knowledge. So to me, that, like, when I was hearing this news, it just kind of really confirmed what I'm thinking about the felon and how things go. I've always thought it happens in the fall. We're not quite to the fall yet. We just got a few more weeks and then it'll be fall. And then, uh, we'll kind of see where things go from there, but I still feel like that's what's going to happen. So let's start with the Epstein birthday card, and I want to see how this whole Epstein thing's affecting his heart. I don't know if I phrased that correctly when I was talking earlier. Um, okay, so what do we need to know about the Epstein birthday card? The message to me was the most disgusting part, not the picture of the crudely drawn woman, but the part where he said, may every day be a beautiful secret. You know, I kind of haven't been reading on the Epstein stuff lately just because it's kind of hard to tap into that energy on a regular basis and maintain sanity. So, um, but I do think this is important here because this feels like it's just another nail in the coffin of the felon, and figuratively, but also quite literally. Um, Now, of course, people are going to deny it. People are going to, make up crazy stuff, such as he was an FBI informant. I mean, please. That's so absurd. We don't need to read on that. That's just not true. Um, so, all right, what do we need to know about the birthday card? What do we need to know about the birthday card? Yeah. I'm getting this image of him with this really smirky grin as he's signing Donald on it. And um, he knew exactly what he was doing. Uh, the words on the cards weren't coincidental. I mean, it was a message, right? The Knight of Cups. With the Five of Pentacles and the environment around, I think this is going to cause him to lose a lot of support. do. And it's not even so much the birthday card, it's the fact that he denied its existence and then it was produced. Like just further eroding the fact that, it's becoming harder and harder not to see that he's just a liar. And if he's lying about the existence of a birthday card, what else is he lying about? Because that seems so, well, disgusting and all those things. Really probably pales in comparisons to the bigger lies. Uh, we get the Ace of Wands, inspiring new leadership. I think this is really affecting his health, by the way. I think this Epstein stuff is literally taking him down. Um, does he have a guilty conscience? Is he even capable of having a guilty conscience? These are all legitimate questions, but the body knows. It just does. It's like, if you pretend to be sick to stay home from work and then in 2 days you really are sick. The body just has its way of making these things happen. This was par for the course, this birthday card. There are others. Maybe not birthday cards, but there are other notes and stuff exchanged between him and Epstein. That makes me wonder if it's not in the Epstein files. Um, this was not an unusual thing. This very much is consistent with his behavior on these issues. We get the King of Wands at the center. Expect this to be used against him by Democrats and people like Thomas Massey and others in the MAGA wing. It's just further eroding his support. The Queen of Swords. I think the biggest part of this that bothers him is he's an onlooker. He really doesn't have much control over this situation. Now, whether the House actually votes to release everything, and um, I'm not so certain that happens. I don't really think everything gets released. That I feel pretty good about, at least not in the short term. I think by the time Democrats take over, things do get released in 2029. And other countries might start releasing things too as they move ahead with prosecutions. And I do think there will be prosecutions. We get the Hierophant, this has a lot to do with that statement of I'm on the bottom of the totem pole to get into heaven. The Epstein stuff has a lot to do with that. Um, I don't think he has got the best self-awareness in the world, to say the least. But I do think that he's realizing, because of the way the public is reacting to this, that the things that they're keeping hidden are what the public would consider beyond reprehensible. Even for him, like his base wouldn't go for it. Um, so I think, that's why the Hierophant's here, and we might find out more through the courts as well. The Six of Pentacles, this is not the only thing that he's exchanged with Epstein. They say the relationship fell out over some real estate deal. I don't buy that, by the way. I don't think the relationship ever really stopped uh, and until he, became president the first time. I do think that there are more communications that will become public between him and Epstein. And the Two of Swords, he's operating blind because he really doesn't know what the DOJ has. That might sound a little bit crazy considering who's in charge of the DOJ, but I don't think they've bothered to really look to see what they have. And I think a lot of it is hidden and encrypted so that it can't be destroyed. I think, Biden's DOJ did a good job to make sure that the evidence would be preserved regardless of what happens. And I think that's why it was shared with other countries as well. So, this birthday card, it was just one of many messages to Epstein, and the felon has no idea what the public actually knows. because not everybody keeps, notes, right? Most people throw them away after a certain time period, but now he's starting to wonder. This might ultimately end up in the courts, but it's definitely altering the way he's thinking about his mortality, um, in a quite significant way. And I do think this ultimately is what takes him down and leads in part to him going boom dead. Uh, Now, it's the stress of it all. He knows he's losing support, and he knows that this message to Epstein was just kind of par for the course. I mean, it's one of many. And he's operating, without any influence. Yeah, he might be able to tell Pam Bondi not to do something, but you know, I don't think that the Congress necessarily succeeds in getting things out, but he knows in the future that there's really nothing much he can do to control this. And there's a lot of stuff that was exchanged between him and Epstein. So it's really quite tragic, for the people who were harmed, uh, especially money and overseas interests. I wouldn't be surprised if there were, um, money exchanging hands for between the two of them. I'm just going to leave it at that. And they were a lot closer than he's letting on. Okay. So will we get the full story? I just a yes or no here. Will we get the full story? Yeah, we will. But not until there's new leadership. That's just the way it's going to be. And not just leadership in the White House, but leadership in the DOJ. And, we're going to get there. It's just going to be a painful 3.5 years still. Um, Not all of it will be painful. There'll be moments that will be less painful than others. Okay, so is this affecting the felon's health, and is he going against doctor's advice? And then to get the tower and justice flying out, that seems to be a pretty good indicator. Now, technically the tower is a no card, but I'd take it as a yes since we're talking about something pretty explosive. Is this Epstein stuff affecting his health? If you go back, somebody pointed out a video that I did several months ago where I said, I saw images of the felon having a hard time putting on his shoes. And I saw Democrats really starting to fight back. And at the time, I didn't know exactly when that would happen. But, now, the felon's got swollen ankles. He can barely get his shoes on. And we've got Gavin Newsom being a constant thorn in the Republican side. And so, on this front, I have a pretty good track record. I don't say that to boast about myself. I say that just for the new subscribers that are wondering, um, maybe why I don't read on certain things. And uh, well, I don't read on certain things if I don't think that they're true. So that's why I don't. Okay, so is this affecting his health? Yeah, I keep hearing that galloping sound, which is how do I describe his heartbeat sounding. It's I think they're having a hard time with his heartbeat in general being, either too fast or too slow. It's kind of there is no happy medium that they seem to be finding here. You get the strength card, and this speaks to the strength of the Epstein evidence and what he knows about it and how it could potentially ruin everything. and it will. And I think it is, I've said this before, it is far darker than anyone can imagine. And, and I'll phrase it kind of this way because this is for entertainment purposes only. This is a tarot reading. I could be right, I could be wrong. But there are people that won't ever be able to come forward, is what I'm saying. There are people that were harmed that will never be able to tell their story. And if you don't get that drift, then I don't know how else to say it without getting myself kicked off YouTube. We get the Ace of Wands again. I mean, this is Vance popping out in the environment around this new leadership. And we get the Lovers card. This card pops up all the time for during Epstein readings. Because, in some realm they were unlikely partners, but in another realm, this really speaks to the perversity of the situation. The doctors are trying to keep his stress level down, but it's not working because these things keep popping up that just keep adding stress to him. So it's affecting his heart. Uh, you know, the magician, I mean, he's lucky he has the medical care that he does because I don't think he'd be here if he didn't. I think they're trying at this point, everything's on the table, literally in the magician's card, everything is on the table. We got a cup, we got a sword, we got a wand, and we've got a pentacle. Everything is on the table as far as his health goes. They're trying to keep him calm, but I don't think it's working. And, he's quite defensive about this because, again, he knows all the secrets. Now he might not have been directly involved in the gist that I was making earlier, but he knows that's what happened. And the Knight of Pentacles, it's a slow burn. The Knight of Pentacles is a very slow moving knight. And the information coming out, which is the Pentacle, is arriving at a slow pace. And he knows how much information is yet to be revealed. And I think it's really taking its toll on him. And then we get loss. And here I think this is his loss. So the Epstein stuff is really strong. Everything's on the table as far as his health goes. There's so much wrong with him. It's hard to know how to do anything. And eventually we end up at loss. He's quite defensive. Doctors are doing what they can, but he knows the truth about what went on. And in the environment around, we have new leadership coming forward. This will be Vance. The doctors are on plan C, D, E, and F. Who knows? They're trying to keep him calm, but there's this slow drip of information that just keeps coming forward. So it's not going to work. Underneath we have, not surprised at all, the World card, which is the completion of a cycle, and we get the Death card. This is ultimately where things are headed. And after death comes sun for a little while, and then surprising new beginnings. It's not like everything gets instantly better. I've never said that. It changes. It just changes. Okay, so is the felon's in bad shape. The boom dead, that's what I feel is gonna happen. I don't think it happens this week or next week, but I think as we get towards the end of the month into October, October always felt right to me. That's what I've been saying for months, so I'll stick with that. Okay. Okay. So is the felon going against medical advice of the doctors? Um, did a reading where I think he's been advised not to fly, but I have a feeling he's going to do that anyhow. Fly long distances, that is. Is he going against medical advice? Yeah, I mean, he sees it as a choice whether to follow it or not, which, most people tend to just follow it. Maybe we don't do great when the doctor tells us we need to change our diet, that kind of thing. But when it's like as serious as you should not fly or travel, we're pretty good about those things. I think it was a huge surprise that he's been given these advices, and we get the Six of Cups again. Information exchanging, this generally intergenerational information, but it's also the wise people giving information to the people that don't know, like doctors and patients. Um, and I think he's just ignoring it. We get the Queen of Wands. I don't think he's fully accepted what's going to happen. But at the same time, he very much is thinking about his family and legacy in particular. I mean, he's a horrible human being. There's no doubt about that. But, he still thinks about those things. He feels quite isolated and alone. I'm not sure a lot of people know exactly what the diagnosis is. I think it's quite small. He's not going to listen. This is kind of ultimately what happens is he just doesn't listen. And abuse of power, going against the rules, not following advice. And doesn't matter how good your circles of support are around health, if you don't listen to them, they really can't help you. So he still sees these as just choices, even though they're pretty stern warnings. But at the same time, he knows the end is near, and he's ignoring the doctors. Something explosive is going to happen with regards to his health that'll really set things in motion for him to possibly start listening to him. But I think at that point, well, even at this point, it's too late. But yeah, and then surprises, bombshells, very stern warnings, but he's just going against them, abusing power like he always does. And it's kind of making people mad in the inner circle that he's not following doctor's advice. And underneath, we have blind choices and messages coming forward and being wounded in battle with the Five of Swords. And then we get Temperance, just the card after death. And the Five of Swords is sometimes considered kind of a minor arcana death card. So that makes a lot of sense to me. There's a lot of death representations today for the felon. So let's just ask the question: am I right about the boom dead? Um, I don't know a nice way to say it, so that's just the way I'm saying it. Right. It's the felon pass quickly. Is it like boom dead? What do we need to know about the felon's passing? Yeah, just I see him in the chair and he slumps over, and then it's like maybe he tries to get up, but he can't really walk, and then he maybe hits his head, and then they find him, and um, it's possible this is in a hotel. The carpet looks a little bit weird. I don't know what the carpet looks like in the White House residence. The carpet looks kind of like hotel carpet. It's a very nice hotel. It's got a fireplace though. I think that's a fireplace. Maybe not. Maybe that's for the hiding the TV. It might not be a fireplace. Um, yeah, he can't walk around with his shoes on very well, so I feel like that could even play a role in tripping over an object, something that shouldn't be there. You need to know about the felon's passing. Here he is in his own reading. So that's a great sign. And we do this all the time. We pull him all the time in the upper left. So the signifier, we get the magician. So many different things are possible here on the way he goes. Nothing's off the table. We get the high priestess, things going on behind the scenes. This almost makes me feel like it doesn't happen in the White House or Mar-a-Lago. Um, I don't know that. I'm not saying that for sure, but it just kind of gives me the feeling that it might not. The Six of Pentacles, giving and receiving. It's possible he mm, just it takes some Advil or whatever. That's just enough to set the heart going too fast. The Ten of Cups at the center of the reading, his life literally flashing before his eyes. It's inevitable. The Three of Wands feels like it could be overseas. Like he goes against advice and flies overseas, even though he's not supposed to. Um, it's definitely a possibility. I hope that's not true because I do think that'll fuel a bunch of conspiracy theories. Justice, karmic justice, and moving forward, the Six of Swords, and then we get the King of Swords, consistency. So, here's the felon, his life flashes before his eyes, and he's just being consistent, doing what he's always done, not listening to anybody. Uh, he realizes the karmic justice as his life flashes before his eyes. And there are things going on behind the scenes here, which makes me think that, this is um, not in a place that he's normally at. I think anything's really possible with the way he goes, but I think it's boom dead. That part I think's right. Uh, could be that he just takes something that doesn't agree with him. You have to be very careful when you have conditions like his. Um, and it's possible that this happens overseas, but it's definitely inevitable that it happens soon. Underneath, we get the Empress card. Uh, It's my card for Russia. I don't know that this is involving Russia, but maybe just not nurturing himself. And like I said, there's something wrong with his heart. That's why we keep getting the Three of Swords. I mean, we get the Three of Swords all the time, right? So I do think he just goes boom, dead. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another video soon.